Hello students, today we will learn about issues of youth as a NSS volunteer. In the previous video we have learned about the categories in NSS youth. Now we will learn about issues faced by the youth as a NSS volunteer. The first issue is resource constraints. NSS volunteers may face limitations in terms of resources, including financial constraints, which can impact the scale and effectiveness of their community service initiatives. So, if some NSS volunteer wants to organize some health camp or cleanliness drive or educational drive in some schools in a village or slum, they need some financial support. They need the support of the community leaders. Okay, they need to purchase books or other stuffs. For that they need money. They need a financial support either from the government or from the institution, which they can reimburse later from the government, or they can arrange some financial assistance from the leaders of those community. So this is the biggest constraint, you can say, in any community service activities. So it is always in practice of the program officer that he or she can manage these financial constraints by something else, or otherwise they have to restrict the scale or the effectiveness of their programs. Next is community resistance. In some cases, communities may resist or be skeptic, and building trust within the community can be significantly challenging. So the community resistance means if the NSS volunteers went to some village or slum or some backward area to give some awareness on, say, AIDS, then they may face some opposition from the cultural background or religious background, or some other that dogmatic practices that they do or they have regarding AIDS, the misinformation regarding AIDS. These things acts as a resistance in the path of the NSS volunteer, which basically degrades the quality of NSS program in some sense. So the NSS volunteer has to build the trust of the community through different activities of practicing the program or implementing the activities slowly and steadily, so that they can understand that they are here to help them. So this is also some kind of things that they have to manage. Moreover, there are some places, if they want to protest against the alcohol or tobacco in some region, that peaceful protest or basically awareness camps. Okay, the NSS volunteers don't go for protest, but they go for awareness or do some activities that leads to the awareness of people around the community regarding some evil things that is going on. So suppose they went to close a alcohol shop, they have to aware the people of the community not to consume the alcohol. Now by doing so, they may challenge the community leader or some big person who is controlling the alcohol in that area. So NSS volunteer may face some problem, some backlash from those people. So this is another problem. So first they have to build the trust of the community. Second, they have to resist the backlash from the leaders. If the leaders are benevolent, they may help the NSS volunteers in achieving their goal or performing the activities or and NSS programs in their village, colonies or slum. Infrastructure gap. NSS projects often involve addressing infrastructure gaps in communities. The lack of basic amenities can pose challenges in implementing sustainable solution. Now the infrastructure gap could be a loose building of a school, could be road, could be water supply, could be uh, torn houses or lack of toilet facilities for girls, etc. So to awake them, you first need those things. Without that you cannot awake them to for using clean toilet, for going to school every day. You need a school. Now if first you need a school, then you can aware them. You have to go to the school. If there is no teacher who will teach you. But the basic problem is that the communities living in the villages and slums do not have their basic infrastructure, and these lack of basic infrastructure hinders the programs of NSS. As a result, the youth of NSS suffers, and it is a big issue that while doing the activities or social services in certain region, if the basic infrastructures are not available, then the NSS volunteer has to suffer, or they may have to arrange from some in some other way, or they have to close the program. So it is another important point. Again, societal issues. Volunteers may find themselves addressing complex societal issues such as poverty, inequality, and lack of access to education or healthcare. Tackling these issues requires thoughtful planning and sustained effort. Now, if you go to a village and tell them that you have to end the caste system, the things doesn't work like that. People won't understand. So the volunteer must have access both to the local leaders, to the security personnel, better connection with their institution, and then they have to slowly go and address these issues such as this poverty or inequality or lack of access to the education. Because it may happen that the leader of that locality don't want that these little kids go to the school and get the education. It may happen. So if you directly go and address these issues, there is a big chance that the volunteers get hurt by those people. So the volunteer must understand the situation, analyze the situation, what are the problems in the society, what are the steps taken by the government to address those problems, what are the local leaders are doing. Now if it is given that due to manpower, human resource, these things are not effectively implementing, then NSS volunteers can directly go to those people and say, we will do your work, please give us the financial support, please stay in front of us, so that people will hear them. Okay. So it is a big problem with the volunteers that they cannot address all the issues directly. They need to go through someone. Next is cultural sensitivity. This is another big problem, especially in India, that after every 100 kilometer, now it may be 50 kilometer, the cultural background of the people changes. Their food, their dress up, their way of thinking, their nature, everything changes after every, usually we say after every 100 kilometer. Now it may be after 50 kilometers. Okay, so the volunteer may encounter cultural differences that require sensitivity and awareness. So when a volunteer from one place go to the other place within the same state or district, they may see the difference in the thought process, difference in the culture. Okay, anything, any normal thing, normal talk in a urban area, it may be offensive in the rural area. So the volunteers must be sensitive and aware of those things. Otherwise, this will be a big issue. Understanding and responding local custom and tradition, as I have said, are essential for effective community engagement. If you disrespect their tradition, if you disrespect their culture, they will not come forward and help you doing your activities, doing your job. As I have told you earlier, like AIDS is like a dogma in many villages on and slums, or even some forwarding rural areas. Okay, AIDS may be a dogma. It is treated like a dogma, not as a disease. So when you go there, you have to understand that this is the culture they have developed. When you want to hit that culture, you have to understand it. You have to understand their emotion. You have to understand how the emotion is working. Who is there anyone who is playing or with their emotion, or they can, or he or she can handle their sensitivity through some other means. So you have to work like that, that you need to understand the custom and tradition and the way of thinking of that region. Otherwise, if you cannot assimilate yourself with them by accepting their culture and tradition, and then you slowly try to change them, then the success of a NSS program is possible. So these are the issues of youth as a NSS volunteer, like resource constraint, like basically it is financial, then community resistance. It come from, it is again, it has some linkage with cultural and traditional part, and mostly related to the leaders and government official who opposes your work or your programs and campaigns. Then infrastructural gap, these villages may not have a good school or hospital or road. So this is a huge problem with the NSS volunteers, that they had to manage within that small uh, infrastructural facility. For a blood donation camp, they may not have a hospital or some local clinic. So they have to manage if they want to arrange a blood donation camp in a remote village. Societal issue, as it is mentioned, that you have to go through with the planning slow and steady, so that you can assimilate yourself among them, and then you can break those things. You have to cut those things, how to change the mindset of being poverty is like it is because of our previous birth, or it is because of the wish of the god according to the different religion. So you have to cut that, you have to break those thread slowly after assimilating with them, after having trust, after gaining trust of those people. So this is another issue, that is societal issue and cultural sensitivity. It is one of the, I can say, most important, because if you cannot culturally and traditionally adjust with them, it is not possible to work in the remote areas of the village. So these are the issues of youth as a NSS volunteer.